Hey guys, first regardsman here. I'll be talking with Jefficus once again on whether or not Techmarine will be good for new players and how the Techmarine update will actually go overall.
I think it's going to be pretty good and pretty fun for new players. The turrets around the different operations are going to offer some much needed or wanted utility. It's going to be different, right? Like being able to memorize different locations on a map where it's like, okay, we're going to fight here. We're gonna try to kite everything to this one location. The automatic gun strikes from the shoulder turret are going to be very welcome for newer players. But the one thing that I think a lot of people won't be able to wrap their head around, because I know a lot of newer players kind of depend on the extra healing from Bulwark and Vanguard, is that Techmarine probably isn't going to have any of that self healing. And then the last thing I'll mention is that everybody's gonna want to play Techmarine, right? And so it's gonna be a new class. Everyone's gonna want to play it, but they're not gonna be able to because classes are still locked in this game. So
That's
unfortunate, but
true.
should be fun.
We do have the class restrictions. I think it's gonna be less of an issue because the matchmaking does kind of make it now so like you don't really get matched with the same class anymore. However, that does mean we'll probably get some like longer matchmaking periods. But we also have a ton of new players coming to the game from Game Pass, so
Hmm.
those players will also have to level up their other classes. So it might even itself out. We'll see on the actual launch. I'm not too worried about that, but like you said, with the lack of self healing on the Tech Marine, that is a pretty big crutch for a lot of players. I think it's a good thing to have in the game overall because having a noob-friendly class playstyle is just good for newer players in general. And as far as the Tarantula Sentry Guns are concerned, I think the Tarantula Sentry Guns are going to be a really popular playstyle in this game. Like you said, kiting back enemies into like other portions of the map to either hold off a horde or fight a boss. And that is a really fun mechanic for a lot of players in games in general, mainly because I feel like weapon or class abilities like the Bulwark Banner that are to hold the line play style, these are really popular in games because that's why people play horde
Oh
shooters
yeah.
predominantly, is because they just like to have these, I'm the last one alive, this is me and my team, or something like that. And they are just holding the line against a gigantic boss and against impossible odds. And those really do fit into that playstyle. This is why turret builds are so popular in a game like Helldivers. I think if they do this properly and give them a proper damage and HP, we have heard you can have multiple active at once from Saber Interactive. This could be a really fun playstyle. I think people will be attracted to this no matter what if they're new. But like you said, a lack of healing could make this a little bit harder to play.
Yeah, we haven't really seen their prestige perks, but one of the things that kind of gives me pause is that the Tech Marine doesn't seem like it can regenerate any equipment or ammunition either. And so if you do have to depend on your resources being your ability, your shoulder turret and the sentry turrets around the map, then you're just going to have to get creative with how you navigate through a level, or you have to get creative with how you spend your resources in something like siege mode.
I think Siege mode, especially, I'm glad you brought this up, will be pretty good for Tech Marine, even though you do have to work how you manage your resources. The Prestige perks, we don't know what these are yet, like anywhere. There are no leaks for this at all. I assume you'll guarantee get things like Fortitude or Conviction there, because we don't really see a lot of damage reduction in the actual
Yeah.
lead perk tree. But on top of that, having some kind of ammo economy perk is probably going to happen. I think that Saber Interactive knows that ammo economy perks are very popular in this game, and having a Tech Marine with ammo regen, that also just makes a lot of sense. If they don't give him that, they could make up for that with the Tarantula Sentry Guns. I think these Sentry Guns will be pretty good in Siege mode, and mainly because Siege mode is a stationary map. Well, I mean, all the maps are
Hmm.
stationary, but it's a very, compact map. So if you have a place that you can just lead the enemies down corridors and you're able to fight around these turrets, it's going to be pretty in line with the general playstyle of that mission type in particular compared to operations. But yeah, this really does depend on where they plant the Tarantula Sentry Guns, because that's my big worry, because the Tarantula Sentry Guns, they could suck. If the HP is awful, if the ammo is awful, if the damage is awful, they're just going to be a gimmick. If it's like really well tuned, these are one of the most interesting mechanics in the game. And as far as the servo gun is concerned, I think new players are going to love the servo gun because they said in the Xbox Wire article that it'll be able to automatically gun strike for you and leave you open to keep fighting. And anything that keeps new players in the fight, I think will be a very popular gameplay option. Though I am looking forward to that, and hopefully the cooldown isn't long.
Yeah, I think one of the questions that I continuously ponder to myself when I look at this update is I'm curious as to why they didn't just release the Iron Hands champion with the update or the Iron Hands chapter pack. Because it seems like this would have been like the perfect time to do it. No offense to Raven Guard fans and to the Space Shark boys, the Carcharodons, but it seems like this would have been the time to capitalize on like, just Techmarine, Mechanicus related stuff, Iron Hands, etc., etc. What do you think about that?
I think the Iron Hands, I mean, we do know they're going to be coming out the Red Talons, Brazen Claws, Sons of Medusa, which is one of my personal favorites, alongside the Iron Lords. Maybe we'll see more there with like a champion pack eventually, but as far as the Raven Guard champion pack is concerned, I think Shark Boys are cool. I think Raven Guard are cool. I think the Raven Guard champion pack looks amazing, and I think they want to give players a bit of time to level up their Techmarine and give them a new outfit in the next patch once more people are accustomed to the class. But like you said, it would be a pretty cool thing to like drop at the same time, and we are probably going to get like another chapter head DLC eventually as well. They talk about that, so maybe they're going to drop the chapter cosmetic pack with like an Iron Hands chapter head or something like that alongside a Raven Guard. They did talk about Raven Guard a little bit as like a future DLC for your voices and stuff like that, so that might be the main reason. As far as how the Techmarine is going to play, I mean, I think that the playstyle of the Techmarine is going to be the most in-depth of all the classes we've seen so far, besides maybe things like animation canceling on Bulwark or like Camo Cloak cancel on Sniper. I really think that going forward, we're going to see more class designs like this, because I kind of doubt this is going to be the last class. I think we are building up to another year, not year two, but like another anniversary patch where they're going to announce another roadmap, because I think we're going to get like one class per year going forward. So hopefully this one bangs, and then after that, we'll see what they do with like the future DLCs and stuff like that. But what are you expecting from the overall playstyle and player response to this class? I think players are going to love this one personally. I think the response to Techmarine is going to be really good. A lot of players were asking if like Techmarine was the best choice. We talked about that before, like I mentioned previously. And personally, I think AdMech are just so popular that having any type of AdMech in the game is going to attract a certain part of the fan base no matter what. And then you can have the more niche stuff, like maybe even Librarian in the future, but that's kind of cope in the future.
Yeah, Well, they might have to like completely develop new systems for Librarian. Which, hey, if the turrets work for the Techmarine class, and if they work well, then I might have enough faith in Focus and Saber to basically develop like a peril system, right, for a Librarian, or do 4 swords justice or 4 staves justice in Space Marine 2. And if it doesn't come out in Space Marine 2, then, Hopium, we get it in Space Marine 3. But I think that at the moment, it probably is up there in terms of being one of the best classes or better classes for the game, right next to Apothecary and Chaplain or Judiciary, mostly because it already functions, or looks like it's going to function, basically just like a tactical, but with 2 additional mechanics that you got to kind of like keep in mind whenever you're playing the game. In that you have your primary weapon, you've got your melee weapon, you got your secondary weapon, but then you've also got your shoulder turret and the turrets throughout the map that you need to consider while you're playing. The playstyle is going to be a hit. I think it's going to be really fun. Minion playstyles or turret playstyles in particular are really cool. And like you said, I don't think this is going to be the last class at all. There's a reason why this is coming to Game Pass at the same time that the class is releasing. I think they know that pretty much almost a guaranteed way to breathe life into your horde shooter or co-op game is to introduce a new character or a new class. This is something that Dark Tide has been doing, and it's been really great. They started with the Arbitrator in the summer of last year, and then they just released the Hive Scum during the end of the year. And we've already got a new class coming probably shortly after the Warhammer Skulls event, which I'm highly anticipating is going to be really big for Space Marine 2 as well. I assume that they're probably going to release or reveal everything that they're going to be doing during the summer and potentially during the next anniversary update during Warhammer Skulls 2025, which is at the end of May there, or 2026 rather.
Yeah, the Warhammer Skulls event will probably see a ton of new reveals. We might get a year 3 reveal there as well. I've seen some people say that year 3 is not coming. I don't know why we'd ever expect that year 3 would not be coming.
No, dude, no, it's coming. It's coming.
Space Marine 2
100%.
is like way more popular now than it was in this time last year. So if they popped out at year 2 because of the player response, I'd be pretty shocked if they didn't pop out at year 3. Saber did say they want to support this game all the way up to Space Marine 3. And like you said, the new classes just seem like the most obvious option to keep a player base and keep people engaged, because having new team comps, having new weapons, these things are what fundamentally change your entire gameplay loop in a lot of cases. And I think that's just like the best option to put their resources in, especially since a lot of the modes in this game have been a little bit more fleshed out recently. We have new operations, we have a kind of undercooked siege mode, we also have these stratagems. So, and new classes on top of this, I think this is the perfect time. I think the minion builds will be a hit. And yeah, you have any final thoughts on this?
For anybody who's saying that year 3 isn't going to happen, I encourage you to look at the most recent Pull Up Entertainment earnings report. And basically, what you will see there is Focus, their moneymaker is Space Marine 2. Pretty much every single one of their new game releases doesn't hit as hard as just Space Marine 2's one annual DLC pack, and soon the money that they're going to be charging for the DLC heads and new voices. You can expect to see more monetization hit for Space Marine 2 as the game continues to age, mature, get new content, and while we wait for that Space Marine 3 release. Because Pull Up Entertainment's entire business model is shifting to be more dependent on these live service functions effectively.
I think 40K really just pulls in the live service crowd in general. Even though this game is not technically a live service yet,
Yeah.
I think Space Marine 3 probably will be, and obviously the cosmetic DLCs are selling really well, and I'm pretty sure the DLC pack for the new heads will also sell well, and they're going to have an even better earnings report, so we'll see what they do in the future. But for now, that's what I have to say on this one. Thank you for joining me, Jeff, and as always, guys, if I like content like this, subscribe for more, subscribe to Jefficus, and take it easy, guys. Bye.
The Emperor protects.